Well, hey, everybody, let's go behind the headlines and take a closer look at one of the most unexpected names that's emerging in the Bryan Kohberger case, the student murders up in Idaho. The woman prosecutors are referring to only as MM, the DoorDash driver. According to court documents and recently released bodycam footage, MM claims that she delivered a Jack-in-the-Box order to Xana Kernodle just before 4 a.m. on the morning the kids were killed. That same morning that she, Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, Madison were brutally murdered. This timing is critical, and prosecutors are saying that the killings occurred just minutes after that delivery was completed, placing the DoorDash driver potentially in the area at the exact time when the crime unfolded. And here's where things get really interesting and really complicated. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil. I'm glad that you're here. And before we dive into this update in the Idaho student murder case, do me a quick favor and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and make sure you got notifications turned on so you never miss a beat. Share Profiling Evil with your true crime-loving friends. We're about to go behind the headlines in a big way. So let's dig into the behavior, the investigation, and the patterns that others might be overlooking by talking about a surprising potential witness who could play a pivotal role in Bryan Kohberger's upcoming murder trial. She's a DoorDash driver, referred to only as MM in court records, and she claims that she was there that night. In fact, she says she parked right next to Bryan Kohberger, that she saw him. She delivered food to the victims, and just minutes before the murders, she walked out and drove away. But could she be trusted? In a September 2024 DUI stop in Pullman, Washington, MM told the police that she was that DoorDash driver in the Idaho student murder case. She claimed, quote, "I saw Bryan there. I parked right next to him," close quote. Well, holy cow, that's a bombshell if it's true, because that would place Kohberger and his white Hyundai Elantra at the scene, not through circumstantial data like cell phone pings or surveillance footage, but through an eyewitness account. But, and this is a big but, her credibility, MM's credibility, is going to come under a microscope. She made these claims during a DUI stop for suspected prescription drug impairment, and the footage from that encounter shows her in an unsteady emotional state. And to make matters worse, this isn't her only DUI arrest, which gives the defense a wide opening to challenge both her reliability and her judgment. Let's catch that clip when I talk on court.
You what?
I'm supposed to testify against Bryan next year.
Bryan?
Yep, I killed all the girls over in Moscow.
Well, this won't change any of that.
Yeah, well, there's a DUI on my record.
I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI.
And now I have to testify. Big murder case here, so yeah, because I'm a DoorDash driver, so yeah.
You have to testify in which murder case?
Murder case for the college girls.
Oh.
I'm a DoorDash driver, I saw Bryan there.
Here is where I believe the prosecution will have a crucial decision to make. The timing of when MM first shared her observations with law enforcement. It's going to be everything. If she told authorities early on, and it's documented that she identified a vehicle and a driver matching Kohberger's description, that gives her statement more weight, even if it's later restated under duress in the DUI footage. Now, I spoke about how important this timeline of revelation is on court TV, so let's catch that segment.
Back of the cruiser. We're going to need some help with this, so we're going to bring in our guest here to help answer that question. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas and retired police commander Mike King. He's also the host of the podcast Profiling Evil, and the author of the new book, Wolves in Sheep's Clothing. Please check it out. Okay. I'm sure they'll be unhappy. I want to bring Mike King into the conversation. They're not going to be happy, but witnesses are who they are. And this is now part of the story. What did you think of her reaction, Mike, and the fact that she's volunteering this information?
You know, that always troubles me, Vinny, because she's in the middle of a DUI arrest, and you wonder if she's bringing that up, hoping to garner a little bit of sympathy from the arresting officer. I assume at that point they've conducted a field sobriety test. They have everything that they need to move forward, and then hopefully get a blood test at the jail. But that's always troubling when someone introduces that and does it in a way that might be trying to get a little bit of a deal from law enforcement. And the officer handled it great by saying, hey, this isn't going to change anything, that you're going to still have the opportunity to testify if you are a critical witness to this case. The other thing that kind of jumped out at me, Vinny, I don't know how you felt or how it came across, but the idea that she's also saying, I'm going to testify against Bryan. Clearly, she's done a lot of listening, researching. Of course, the name is not unfamiliar to anyone who the suspect in the case is and the defendant in this case. But I find that interesting and potentially a real challenge for the prosecution. But I can't think of the number of cases I had where there was somebody who was under the influence of drugs, or they were in the middle of a major criminal enterprise and they still were a valuable witness in a case. And the fact that she can place a car that looks like the suspect vehicle, that she can place an individual who she believes had a physical description that matched, and she now says, and I've learned that is the same guy that I'm seeing here because I remember his face. Those are all pretty powerful things, but still pretty darn sticky, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
The biggest factor here is when she told law enforcement. If it was shortly after the murders and not during her DUI arrest, it could be credible identification. If it's only now coming up, her testimony could fall apart, frankly, under scrutiny. But if that identification only emerged during the September 24 arrest, the defense is likely going to hammer away at the possibilities that this is just a confused, possibly drug-induced recollection, contaminated by media coverage or suggestibility. So from a legal standpoint, and only in my opinion, the prosecution needs to do one of two things. First, maybe both things. They need to anchor her memory to the night of the murders with objective proof. Things like the GPS logs from DoorDash, digital timestamps, surveillance video confirming her presence there. Then the prosecution's going to need to separate her accurate observations from her impaired movements, drawing a clean line between a sober, timestamped delivery and her later run-ins with the law. So let's look at how this might have unfolded, down to where she parked, as I talked about this on Court TV with my buddy Gray Hughes.
So it's really interesting when you see it all laid out in a timeline.
You know, I thought you laid it out really well on your YouTube channel. I want the folks at home to take a look at that, and I want Mike to take a look at it as well. Let's watch.
Kohberger's parked right there, and here is the DoorDash driver. Let's move this piece. So they drive in, come around, and then at 3:57:50, parks right there. And she parked next to him. There he is. So he drove by right here at 3:58:23, and then he drove out, and then he drove around like this, and he's watching that DoorDash vehicle. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know it's a DoorDash delivery. And then he drives around like this and does a U-turn because it's concerning to him. And then he comes back up here and he looks over there.
So a big part of all this is her saying that she saw him, that she parked next to him. So Mike, from your perspective, do you think this is all happening in the front of the house, that lot that we see in the front? Because if I'm a DoorDash driver, that's where I would go.
You know, it's good to be on with Gray because we've had a lot of discussions where we pulled out maps and we've looked at things and talked about things, and what a great job he's done here. But the thing that's so important, I think, in this is the prosecution needs to get across the point that as she's exiting her vehicle to make that DoorDash delivery, if in fact all of the story is true, and he is now trying to leave this area, he's going to be on the driver's side of that vehicle, and the only thing separating him from her is a little bit of distance and a glass window, if that window's up. And so she's got a clear view into that vehicle, which I think the prosecution could make a lot of hay in. And then when we start putting this thing together, I mean, again, we're dealing with such an incredible circumstantial case. All of these pieces keep putting more and more responsibility on Bryan Kohberger, that he has to somehow, or his defense team has to somehow get people to believe, well, maybe that's not correct, or have them think that something else may have happened. But when we start looking at the forensics that are coming in from the cameras capturing this vehicle that is the same kind of vehicle that Kohberger is driving, at least in color and size and shape. We see a DoorDash driver who says, I'm physically looking into the eyes of this person. We see the forensics that's putting him in the area, him personally, based on his phone earlier than that. All of these pieces start coming together, and these are the kinds of cases where I think, Vinny, you as a prosecutor would have been really happy to start tying together to help the jury, reasonable people, make a decision that, yeah, this guy's got to be the one that's right there. Now, this part of the surveillance shows her pulling up near the house just before the murders. Now, if she really parked next to him and he circled back, it supports her claim that she could have seen him and that he would have seen her. Well, hey folks, it's Mike from Profiling Evil, and I wanted to take a moment to invite you to join me at CrimeCon Denver. It's in September, and you won't want to miss this. If you love true crime and you love hanging out with people that like true crime, you ought to come and enjoy the 6,000 plus people that come to CrimeCon and take part in this amazing event. And to make it a little easier, I've worked out a deal with CrimeCon to give you a special discount on your registration. So when you go to registration, make sure you enter the code word KING, K-I-N-G, my last name, and that'll get you a discount on CrimeCon. And I look forward to seeing you there. Hey, by the way, bring your books, and I'll make sure to sign them while we're there, and we'll get some pictures together. Hey, we'll see you soon at CrimeCon. On the other hand, the defense is already playing offense here. They're arguing that her mention of Kohberger during that DUI arrest should never have been public in the first place, and that risks tainting a jury pool. They've even asked for a special prosecutor to investigate the leaks of sensitive discovery. So the question really boils down to, is MM going to be allowed to testify? Her name is already on the sealed witness lists, and the trial team might decide just to lean on more objective evidence, things like that DNA recovered on the knife sheath, or surveillance footage of Kohberger's car looping the area, or the forensic cell phone data. But if this woman does take the stand, she could provide the first human account that links Kohberger directly to the scene, if the jury believes her. And that's where I wrap it up on Court TV. And that is what makes this witness so tricky.
Yeah, Mike King, and the way we've been getting information here, we've gotten so little information, which is fine. Investigators are the ones who need it, and prosecutors are the ones who need it during the trial. As the trial plays out, we're going to learn so much more. But this was a huge piece of the puzzle from the beginning. We were always wondering, what about the DoorDash driver? And now it seems like this is a very significant part of the case, a very significant part of the story that prosecutors are going to need to tell.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think there's something that's really critical here. There's only a distance maybe of 15 feet between that drive and where the DoorDash driver potentially parked. Again, a very short space of time and space. But when they bring out the actual digital records from DoorDash, I mean, we've all ordered food and we watch that driver drive up the street and stop and walk in and hand us our food. They're going to be able to, using the telemetrics from the phone itself that DoorDash driver's using, not triangulated data like we've talked about in the past, Vinny, but actual location data from the device. They're going to be able to show that DoorDash driver pulling right into that area, stopping and getting there almost within seconds, just like we see when we're waiting for our food. And I hope that the defense or the prosecution makes an argument like that of, hey, you've all looked out the window waiting for the DoorDash driver, watching your phone as they drive up the street. And it's almost always dead on when they arrive. And that's going to be powerful. She says that she made eye contact with the suspect. She describes the car. The timeline fits, but it's still circumstantial unless it's backed up by DoorDash's logs and much more information. But when it all lines up, it starts painting a pretty compelling picture. And at the end of the day, this witness sits right on the edge of credibility. Her statement could actually bolster the prosecution's timeline. Or if the defense does their job right, it could become a wedge for reasonable doubt. And that's where we're going to leave it today, folks. I'd love to hear what you think, so I hope you'll put your thoughts in the comments section down below. And please don't be shy about jumping into conversations with other people. Just keep it respectful. We're here to learn together. And thanks for watching Profiling Evil. Your support is appreciated. And I hope you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. That way you're going to get updates, insights, and behind-the-scenes looks at the cases that we're covering. And by the way, if you like getting true crime on the go, make sure you check out Profiling Evil's audio podcasts on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're still hungry for more crime, just head over to profilingevil.com, where you can check out our interactive case maps, our bonus content, and a lot more. Don't miss our cool story maps. They are really something to look at. And make sure you're signing up for the BOLO, our exclusive newsletter that drops straight into your inbox with insider information that you're not going to get anywhere else. And while you're at Profiling Evil, check out my books. I'm really excited to share information about my new book. It's called Wolves in Sheep's Clothing. And it's finally here for pre-orders, and it's unlike anything that I've written before. The book pulls back the curtain on how predators hide in plain sight, how they manipulate, groom, and how they control people, all while wearing a mask of normalcy. So whether you're a true crime enthusiast or a concerned parent, or maybe just somebody who wants to better understand the dark side of human behavior, this book is for you. And here's the cool part. I've made 3 ways for you to get your hands on it. First, if you're a serious collector, a Profiling Evil super fan, I've set aside only 100 hardbound, signed and numbered author copies. Once these things are gone, they're gone. But these are exclusive, and they're only available through profilingevil.com or the link down below. Now, while you're at Profiling Evil, you can also pick up either a signed hardbound or paperback version of the book. And if you live in the United States, I'll ship that thing to you for free. If you're outside the USA, I hope you'll just take advantage of Amazon because they've got you covered. Just search for Wolves in Sheep's Clothing by Mike King and order it anywhere in the world. Books are going to start shipping in just a couple of days. So however you choose to read Wolves in Sheep's Clothing, I just want to say thank you. Your support means a lot to me. It helps me keep telling victim stories, teaching the process of criminal investigations, and most importantly, helping us kind of reduce our risk in this crazy world that we're living. Thanks so much for your support of Profiling Evil. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.